Hello everyone. Welcome to another example in ER diagram. In this example, we are going to see the ER diagram for banking enterprise. As I mentioned in the previous lecture, database has widespread applications. In the last presentation, we have seen about ER diagram for university database. In this presentation, we are going to focus on the ER diagram for banking enterprise, which is again an inevitable area where databases cannot be denied. And if you are directly watching this lecture, I would request you to watch my previous lectures to gain better understanding about the ER model and ER diagrams. I would also strongly suggest you to go through other lectures like the mapping cardinalities and participation constraints in ER diagrams. So you will gain better insights and better understanding about how to create an ER diagram, which is actually in the design phase. Because before going into the implementation of the database, we need to have a strong design. A good design is crucial because the design process deals with conceptual, logical, and physical aspects of the databases, which certainly ensures integrity, efficiency, and security of the databases. If the ER diagram or the databases are not properly designed, it could definitely lead to redundancy and incompleteness. So, we should ensure ER diagrams are created perfectly without any flaws. Let's start building the ER diagram for banking enterprise. When we talk about bank as a customer, just think about what are all the real world entities a banking system will have. Definitely a customer. Without customers, a bank cannot operate, obviously. Apart from customers, just think about what are all the other elements or other entities we need to think about. When someone is a customer to a bank, he will be having an account. Or a customer may be approaching the bank for some loan activities. Or a customer may be having a locker in the bank. Generally, lockers are used to store valuable assets, either physical assets like gold or silver or platinum, or the documents. It could be legal documents or civil documents. Whatsoever, all these are entities related to banking. Obviously, a real banking system will have more entities and more relationships. For teaching purpose, I'm just picking and choosing only few items. Let's start with the first entity set, which is the customer. This customer entity is described by a set of attributes such as customer ID, which is a primary key attribute, customer name, customer street, and customer city. If you observe, in the last presentation, when we discussed about the ER diagram for university databases, I've shown a different way of representing entities and attributes. But here I am showing something different like this. Please recollect one of the points we have already discussed in ER diagrams lectures, that there are many conventions to represent the notations of the ER diagram. Here is another way of representing the ER diagram. However, the fundamentals still remain the same. My intention here to use this is just to let you know that there are various approaches to represent the ER diagram. And this is also one of the commonly used techniques by many authors. I will leave it to the audience to pick and choose the best one, whatever they feel so. Coming to this entity, customer, which has attributes such as customer ID, customer name, customer street, and customer city. What is the primary key attribute here? It's the customer ID, which uniquely identifies all the customers. Customer is one entity. When we say a customer to a bank, obviously we'll have an account. So account is another entity. This account has two attributes, account number or account ID and the balance. Now in this account entity, account number is the primary key attribute. We can say this is a strong entity, this is also a strong entity because they have their own primary key attributes. How this customer entity is related with account entity? Obviously, deposit. Because he is not borrowing. Customer has an account in the bank, so obviously, depositor relationship. So customer is the depositor with this account. Since this relationship depositor is between two strong entities, and obviously this is a strong relationship. Let's start building the relationship. Customer will have an account in the bank. That is undeniable. And when customer deposit, we need to keep track of the deposited date or the access date, on which date the customer has access to this account, right? So this depositor relationship will have an attribute access date. It means this is an attribute associated with the relationship table or the relationship set. We are done with the depositor relationship. Will customer have only depositor relationship with the account? He or she might have borrowed loan from the bank. Then comes the loan entity. And this loan entity has attributes such as the loan number and amount. If you observe, loan is also a strong entity because it also has a unique identifier, which is the loan number as the primary key. Now, how this customer entity is related with the loan entity? Obviously, borrower relationship. Loan is actually borrowed. So, customer has borrower relationship with the loan. When there is a loan, obviously, customer has to pay regularly to close the loan account, isn't it? So, loan payment comes into the picture here. So, payment is another entity. But why this is a weak entity? A weak entity is represented with double rectangles, isn't it? When we have customer, when we have account as strong entities, when we have loan also as strong entity, why payment is a weak entity? Because not all customer would have taken a loan. Whoever have taken loan, those customers only will be engaged in the payment. So this payment relation or this payment entity is truly depending on the existence of loan. And that is why this payment entity is a weak entity. This weak entity payment has attributes such as payment number, payment date, and payment amount. Now, how this loan and payment is related? I mean, the entity loan and the entity payment, it will be a weak relationship. The reason is it's a strong entity associated with a weak entity, and the relationship is a weak relationship because this depends on this. And if you observe, it's a one-to-many relationship. For a single loan, multiple payments may be made. Also, it is a total participation. Whatever payment is made, all payments will be definitely having some relationship with the loan entity. Simply speaking, all the payments will be participating in the loan. I hope things are making sense to you. Now let's bring in another entity, the branch. When we talk about a banking enterprise, it's not only one bank, one branch. A bank may have n number of branches across the state, across the country, across the world. In that case, we need to maintain branch information as well. So branch entity has attributes such as branch name, branch city, and the assets information of that branch. And what's the primary key attribute here? It is the branch name. Obviously, branch code or branch name will be unique for each branch of the bank. When there is a branch, obviously a loan might have been borrowed from a specific branch. So loan branch is the relationship that links the loan entity and the branch entity. And this is also a one-to-many relationship. And this is a strong relationship. The reason is this relationship is between two strong entities, branch, which has a primary key attribute, and loan also has a primary key attribute. Are we done? No, we will still build up this ER diagram. When we say customer, obviously customers might have borrowed loan or have depositor relationship with their account. Just assume I am successfully running a food restaurant. During my lunchtime, instead of taking food from my restaurant, imagine I am going to other restaurant to have food and come back to my restaurant to run my business as usual. Is it sounding good? Definitely not. Because it is expected that I take food from my own restaurant to set an example. Likewise, an employee who is working in that bank definitely is expected to have an account in that same bank. So, a person who works in that bank is expected to have an account in the same bank. A person who works in that bank, he is an employee of that bank. At the same time, this employee may also have an account in the bank. So that person is actually an employee, but also a customer. So I am bringing in an employee entity, which is described by attributes such as employee ID, the dependent name, employment length, start date, telephone number, and employee name. So employee ID, employee name are basic information. In addition to that, dependent name. An employee may have one or more dependents, and that is why dependent name is a multi-valued attribute here. We know multi-valued attributes are represented using double ellipses. And talking about the employment length, which is a derived attribute, which can be derived from another attribute, which is the start date here. Please remember, Derived attributes are represented using dashed ellipses or dotted ellipses. Once the start date of the employee is known, obviously the employment length can be easily calculated. All right, employee entity is done. How this employee is related with customer? Obviously, this employee is a customer of that bank. So this customer banker or cust banker is the relationship between employee and customers. This is also one-to-many relationship. At the same time, this is a strong relationship because this also has a primary key attribute. This also has a primary key attribute. Are we done? No. When we say this employee and customer are related to each other, we should also maintain what type of relationship they maintain. So the type is an attribute associated with this relationship. Also, this employee may have multiple roles. What are the roles? This employee works for two roles. One is he may be a manager or he may be a worker. So when we talk about employee, you can see this is a unary relationship which has two roles, manager and worker. An employee may be a manager or an employee may be a worker. If he is a manager, under him multiple employees may be working. This is like the prerequisite ID and the course ID like we have seen in the previous example. Before we conclude, let's see the extended ER feature. I would like to just introduce the extended ER features like this. There is a triangle where it shows an is-a relationship. Why? For an account, this account may be of two types. It may be a savings account or it may be a checking account. So this account is a saving account or this account is a checking account. If it is a saving account, what's the interest rate? This is an attribute that is described by savings account. If this account is a savings account. If this is a checking account, what's the overdraft amount? Now, if you observe here, there is an inheritance relationship here where whatever the basic features this account contain, account number, balance, all the basic features should be possessed by savings account as well as checking account. If you have some basic knowledge about object-oriented programming's inheritance feature, then you might be able to correlate this with the superclass and the subclass scenarios. So don't worry much about this for now. This is an extended ER feature where in the coming lectures, I'll be explaining you about the various extended ER features like the generalization, specialization, inheritance, and other few stuff. And that's it, guys. I hope now you are able to understand how to create an ER diagram for banking enterprise. Are we done here? No, only the learning part is over. Before I conclude, there are some homework questions to test your knowledge. Keenly observe my questions. I would request you to take a paper and try adding a locker entity to this ER diagram. Please recollect, in this lecture, I was talking about a locker entity. So try fitting this locker entity to this ER diagram and see if you are able to add it. But that's not the homework question. Please take a paper and make a note of these questions and find your answers. Analyze all the 7 questions, draft your answers in the paper, consolidate and post all your answers in the comment section. Here is the first question. What is the name of the multi-valued attribute shown here in this ER diagram? Question number 2. What is the name of the derived attribute that is shown here? Question number 3. How many weak entity sets are here in this ER diagram? Question number 4. What is the name of the attribute that is associated with a relationship in this ER diagram? Question number 5. How many unary relationships are shown here? And what is the name of the unary relationship? Question number 6. How many many-to-many relationship exist in this ER diagram? And the last question, in the employee entity, identify another entity that can have a multi-valued attribute. Consolidate all the answers and post your answers in the comment section. As you are aware, not all banking systems need to follow the same ER diagram approach because every bank has their own way of executing things. As I mentioned multiple times, it is all requirements based. In the next presentation, let's see ER diagram for hospital management. I hope the session is informative and thank you for watching.